Hey guys, welcome back to Crafts Go Bloom. My name is Krista, and today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to make this no-sew crochet goose. This is a great beginner-friendly amigurumi. There's no sewing involved. We just have to do a couple of stitches, do some color changes, and we're actually going to tie the feet on. So you don't even have to crochet over anything. So I'd highly recommend this if you're brand new. The PDF pattern will be linked below if you'd like to follow along on paper as well. The way I'm going to do this video is the pattern will go across the screen like this, and I will help you out with reading all of those stitches and then walk you through how to do each of those things. If I'm still moving too fast for you, go ahead and pause the video and catch up on that round, and then meet me back when you're finished with it. So let's take a look at our supplies for this goose today. First up, we've got our main body color, and I'm going to be using Bernat Baby Blanket in white. And for the feet and the beak, I'm going to be using Bernat Blanket Brights in the color Carrot Orange. I'm going to be using blanket yarn for today's project, but I've also made this before in Big Twist Posh, and I've seen other people make it in Parfait Chunky, and I know that it turns out great in all of those options. I've also made it in a worsted weight acrylic yarn, in a weight 4 yarn, and it just turns out smaller, but it makes a really cute keychain. Our other supplies for today are a sharp pair of scissors. I have my size 6 J crochet hook because that's what works for me and my tension to not see any holes in my project, not see any stuffing sticking out. So you may want to go to a different hook size to make that happen, or if you are using one of the other yarns I mentioned, or even a completely different yarn, you want to use the right hook for the right yarn. And the way you know that is as long as you don't have holes in your amigurumi, you've got the right yarn. Up next, we've got a stitch marker, and that's just going to help us mark where we are starting and stopping so that we know where we're at, because we're going to work in continuous rounds, always building on a spiral. I've got a tapestry needle. This is a heavy-duty needle with a large eye, and it's dull on the end, and mine does not bend. There are also some plastic versions and some versions that are bent on the end. Any one of those is fine. I have 12mm safety eyes for today's project, and the eye is going to go through the stitches that we crochet, and then we'll put this washer on the back of it. These are not recommended for any children who are 3 and under, or if they are still putting toys in their mouth. If you have a child who's still doing that, then I suggest doing yarn eyes. And our last supply is stuffing. I use this big box of stuffing that I buy from Joann in the US, but any stuffing will do. The first thing we're going to do for this pattern is make the feet and then set them aside so that we have them ready to go when we get to that part of the pattern. So we're going to start by making a slip stitch. And I make a slip stitch by just wrapping it around the yarn around 2 fingers and pushing it up through the center, and then tightening that down and putting it on my hook. And then we're going to begin by chaining 5. And to chain, you're just going to yarn over and pull through. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Next, we're going to start in the second chain from the hook. So we're not going into that first V, we're going into the second one. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and keep pulling it through the loop on your hook, and that's a slip stitch. Then we're going to do the second slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 2 again. And same thing, start in the second chain from the hook, do a slip stitch, and then do a second slip stitch in that base chain where you went last time. And that's creating all of our talons all going in the same space. And then we're going to do it one more time. So chain 2, starting the second chain from the hook, do a slip stitch once more in that base area there in the middle. And then you're going to slip stitch 2 more up the leg in the last 2 chains that we have. And when you're finished, yarn over and chain 1, and that's how I'm going to finish this off. And then I'm going to cut a long tail and pull that yarn through. Tighten everything down there, And that's going to give us our foot and tails that we can use to tie knots with in the bird once we get there. So I'm going to make the second one a lot faster. Now that I'm finished with both feet, let's take a look at what is the top and what is the bottom. Whatever you were looking at that was facing up is the top, and these rounded parts are the bottom. It looks a little bit flatter when you hold it this way, and it's a little bit rounder. Honestly, if you tie them on upside down later, it's not going to matter. Just make sure that they're both going the same direction. But if you'd like to make sure that the top is on top and the bottom is on bottom, just go ahead and leave them just like this and move them off to the side. We won't get to them until much later in the project. Now for the main body, we are going to start with the white, and we're going to start by making a magic ring. Now the way I do that is by laying the yarn over my hand, grabbing it with my thumb. I go across the back of 3 fingers and go around, and then I pinch on that X. I go all the way across the back of my hand and grab it with my pinky. Then I'm going to stick my hook in under the first loop, grabbing the second one and pulling it through, and then I twist it, and I'm going to grab that yarn where my pinky is, and I'm going to hold that really tight and pull it through. And then I've got my magic ring to work into. So I'm going to show you that one more time. I'm going to lay the yarn across my hand and grab it with my thumb, go around the back of my hand, pinch on that X, go across the back of my hand and grab it with my pinky, stick my hook in and go under the first loop, grabbing the second one, and give that a twist. And then I'm going to come over here and grab this yarn that I'm holding with my pinky, and you're just pulling it through, but I think it's a lot easier to grab it tightly with my whole left hand and pull it all the way through. So that's our magic ring. For round 1, we're going to start by doing 7 single crochets into the magic ring. And you do that by inserting your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So we've got 2, and we're going to 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now we're going to hold on tightly to those single crochets with our right hand, and we're going to pull that tail with our left hand, being careful that you're just pulling it tightly closed and you're not going to pull so tight that you snap your yarn, because that can happen. And then I'm going to stick my stitch marker in the final stitch of that round so that I know where to stop after the next round. And for round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch, repeat that pattern 7 times for a total of 14 stitches. The way you do an increase is by just doing 2 single crochets into the exact same space. So just like before, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And I apologize that it is a little more difficult to see white stitches on camera. Once they're done, you can see them a little bit better. So if it's difficult for you to see these and you're still quite a new beginner and you want to be able to see the stitches, hop on over to my channel and I have a tutorial for this very similar duck, and it's in a yellow where you'll be able to see the stitches a lot better. For round 3, we're going to increase and then single crochet 1, and we're going to repeat that pattern around 7 times for a total of 21 stitches. So you're going to start with an increase, which is putting 2 single crochets into one space. And then you're going to move over to the next one and you're just going to do 1 single crochet. So we're going back and forth in that pattern. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then 21. I always remove my stitch marker when I'm going to make that stitch, because if you leave it in there, it takes up just enough space that it will start to make those stitches look a little different than everything else, and you'll start to see a line by the end of it. So for rounds 4, 5, and 6, we're just going to single crochet 21 stitches for a total of 21 stitches. So you're just putting 1 single crochet in each stitch going around. And we're going to be doing that for 3 rounds. So we're going to go around once here, and that's going to be round 5, and then you do it again. Excuse me. We're going to go around once right now, and that's going to be round 4. Then you're going to do it again for round 5 and do it all over again for round 6. And as I come to the end of round 4 here, you can see that it's starting to create a little bit of a lip, and it's going to look like a little cup or a bowl. And that is what we're looking for. That's normal. And this is the inside of our project. Wherever our tail is, that's the inside. And this is the outside, so you just want to flip it out like that. And go ahead and do the exact same thing for rounds 5 and round 6, and I'll meet you back here when I'm finished. I'm back with rounds 4, 5, and 6 completed. And so we've got that center round here. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds. So we're going to move on to round 7. For round 7, it might look like a lot, but we're going to break this down and do it bit by bit. This is the round where we're going to add the beak. So the first thing we're going to start off with is 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and on the 10th one, you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop, and then stop there and grab your orange. And we're going to leave about a 6-inch tail, and we're going to yarn over with the orange and pull that through. Now on the back side here, I'm going to take this tail and put that over here where I can hold it with my hands out of the way, the orange tail. I'm going to grab the white working yarn and pull that to the front, and we're going to be crocheting with the orange. Now we're going to do 1 single crochet, 1 half double, and 1 single crochet all in the same space. And we're going to do all of that in the front loops only of the next stitch. So if you're not sure how to find that, you're just grabbing the loop in the front. Whenever you insert your hook into a regular stitch, there's actually a V of yarn on there. And so you want to make sure you're only grabbing that front one. And then I'm going to lay the white yarn over the top of that. And that's going to help me crochet over it. So first we need to make a single crochet. So we're just going to yarn over and pull up the orange, yarn over and pull through 2, like we've been doing this whole time. Then we need to do a half double. So we're going to yarn over first, insert our hook, making sure to only go in the front loop only of the same space. Then we're going to yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 of those, and that's a half double. Now we're going to do another single crochet in there, but before we finish it, we're going to drop that orange yarn and pick up that white. And then making sure you're in the very next stitch, we're going to single crochet 10 to get to the end of the round. 2, and if that orange yarn is getting in your way, just flip the project over and straighten everything out again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we're going to leave that orange yarn attached for one more round because we're going to be crocheting around it and giving it something to tie on to in a little bit. For round 8, we're going to start by single crocheting 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 gets us right next to the beak. Now we're going to go under the beak into the back loop only that we did not crochet in before. And we want to move that orange tail over here and the orange working yarn over here to the left. So we're going down in under the beak, finding that back loop only and doing 1 single crochet there. And then we're going to completely skip over the beak and go back to that next white stitch and finish the round with 10 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that 10th one there. And on this 10th one, I'm going to pull out the working yarn and insert my stitch marker like usual. We're going to deal with that orange yarn so we don't have those tails in our way any longer. So cut that working orange yarn to be about the same length as the tail that you have. Then I'm going to move that orange yarn out of the way because we're done with that. And if you crocheted over it the way I was showing you, you'll have this little white gap here, and you can go ahead and just tie those orange tails into some tight knots. And that's going to hold everything in place there, and we won't have to weave those into anything. Now, if you have them cut way too long, you can shorten them down. They're not really bothering me, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to cut them off just so that they aren't sticking out into everything we're trying to see. So those can go up in there. And while we're taking a break from crocheting, let's go ahead and get the eyes in. And the eyes go between rounds 6 and 7, about 4 stitches apart. That is also right here above the beak. And I don't count the stitches in between the eyes, I just make sure that the beak looks centered. You can count the stitches in between the eyes, but don't worry if you have a different number than I do, it's fine. They're about 4 stitches apart. So I'm going to hold the front of the eye with my thumb, push this up so that I can see those little notches, grab my little plastic washer here and click that down on there. I'm going to do the same thing with the other eye. And those are in place. For round 9, we're going to single crochet 21 for a total of 21 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, a little yarn fuzz we don't need, 15, 16. Now I've got a yarn. I've got a knot in my yarn, like it came from the factory this way. They stuck 2 yarn tails together, and I'm able to just crochet around that and hide that one in there, so I'm just going to do that. Sometimes you do have to cut your yarn and pretend that you're doing a color change, basically, but you're just continuing the same color. But where that knot was at, I was able to just sneak that right in there. It's kind of hard to see there, but when I go around the next round, I'll just push that down in there and just keep going with what I'm doing, and we won't even know it's there anymore. Now, round 10 is going to look like quite the paragraph when you first see it, but we're going to break this down step by step. And so I'm going to leave it on the screen for just a second here before we get started. And as with any crochet pattern, we're just looking for one chunk of stitches at a time. So the first thing we're going to do is single crochet 1. And what we're doing here in round 10 is creating those tail feathers back there. So we're making it go out to a little more of a point so that it has those cute tail feathers and helps it balance too. So we single crochet 1, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Next, we're going to start in the second chain from the hook, and we're going to single crochet 1 in that one and in the next chain. So single crochet 2 going back down the chain. 1 and 2. And then we're going to put our next one in the same single crochet space that we started. So one more in that same space. And then you're just going to single crochet 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now for the next stitch or group of stitches, we are making the wing, and we're doing that by going in the front loops only. Just like we did with the beak. We're only going in the front loops, and we're going to be doing 5 double crochets. You make a double crochet by yarning over, inserting your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's 1 double crochet. So let's try that again. We're going to yarn over, make sure you're going into that same space every time and that they're all in the front loops only. So yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we've got 2 double crochets, 3, 4, and then 1 more. We're going to do 5, all in that same spot. Now you want to make sure that you pick those up and move them over out of your way and find the next single crochet that we're going into. And we're going to single crochet 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then same thing, we're going to stop and make another wing with 5 double crochets in one space. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to go ahead and take out my stitch marker right now because that's not where we're going to stop. We're actually going to change our stopping point in this round. So again, making sure that you sort of pick up that wing and get under there to that next single crochet. So we're going to start with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the 6th one, I'm going to reach across over here, and there's a little bit of a gap left, so we're going to fill that in with a single crochet. And then we're going to make stitches 6 and 7 going up the back of that chain that we made at the beginning of the round. So now you have 8 single crochets between your wing and the end. And you should have 36 stitches at the end of this round, and that's including the stitches from the wings. And that's where we're going to put our stitch marker. For round 11, we're going to start off by doing 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then you're going to do 1 single crochet under the wing in the back loop only that was left behind in the last round. So we're going to completely skip over these 5 double crochet, do 1 single under the wing, and then you want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and completely skip those double crochets, making sure you find that next single crochet again. And we're going to do 9 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Same thing again, totally skip under that wing, and this is where that knot that I had in my yarn happens to be, so it might look a little different than yours, but I'm going in that back loop only. A little finicky with that knot there. Doing 1 single crochet. Count those doubles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you go into the stitch after that, and we're going to do 8 more single crochets. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. For round 12, we're going to single crochet 27 all the way around for a total of 27 stitches. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. For round 13, we're going to single crochet 27 around for a total of 27 stitches. So let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, got a little orange fuzz that we don't want there. Really shows up well on the white. 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 27. Now for round 13, don't forget you're going to do the exact same thing all the way around for a total of 27 stitches. And if you're enjoying this tutorial, I have dozens more of these no-sew crochet tutorials over on my channel. So make sure you go check those out. And I'd love to hear your suggestions on other birds or other animals. I have cats, dogs, all kinds of things that you would like to see a tutorial for. I'm also quite active over on Instagram. If you'd like to share your project over there and tag me, I would love to see it and talk with you. Okay, 25, 26, and 27. For round 14, we're going to start with 4 invisible decreases. And the way you do an invisible decrease is by going in the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Insert your hook through both of those. Yarn over and pull a loop through those. Yarn over and pull through 2. You're taking 2 single crochets and turning them into 1 in this round. And you want to make sure that once you've finished that invisible decrease, you make sure you go to the next stitch that you have not gone into at all. Sometimes those can be a little tricky. So there we've got 2. Go in those front loops only. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. And that's 3. And 4. Then we're going to single crochet 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now do 3 invisible decreases. 1, 2, and 3. Then you're going to do 4 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to end it with 3 invisible decreases. 1, 2, and 3. And when you get to the end of round 14, you should have 17 stitches. And we're going to pull out our working yarn right now because it is time to add the feet. So I've just finished round 14. We're going to work on adding the feet. You can see we're getting a little bit of a tail feather here. I'm going to sort of flatten them out though, and that'll help us a little bit when we're putting on the feet today. I like to figure out where the feet go by holding my hook on here by the eye and going straight down. And we're going in between rounds 13 and 14, which are the last 2 rounds that we did. And the way I do this is by inserting my hook and pulling the loops through, and then we're going to tie them on the back. But I want to get both feet in before I start tying them. So I've got a whole stitch in between these orange tails for the foot. And then we're going to move over and do the same thing. Bring the hook down here. Let's see. And this is why I don't tie them on right away, because I really want to look at this and make sure that they're centered and even. That's looking pretty good. Okay. Once you have them all centered, you have them all even, you can also check by using your hook going down from the beak, and are they in equal distance on either side from the hook. Now I'm just going to flip this over and tie these into a few knots, and you can tie these tightly. And I just want to make sure that I'm not tying the left foot to the right foot or vice versa. We want to tie the 2 tails of the right foot together and then the 2 tails of the left foot together. So there we go, and then I'm going to stick those tails up in there. And then while we're taking this break, I'm also going to add stuffing. I'm really only stuffing to about round 12 right now, and then we'll be able to add the rest of our stuffing after we do one more round. And there will be more yarn then to hold in the stuffing, but we will also have a hole big enough to finish stuffing it as well. I want to keep that stuffing down out of my yarn so that I'm not stitching into it. And I always like to get the correct amount of stuffing that I think is correct and then add just a smidge more, because as they get squished and played with, they're gonna lose a little bit of their fluff. As they start to get squished, they start to lay flat a little bit. For round 15, we're going to invisible decrease 8 times and then single crochet 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This round can be a little bit finicky, a little bit slow as you're working into such a small space. 7, as you're working around the feet, all those things. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker early, because once I get around little ways. Starts to just be in my way. 8, and then 1 single crochet at the end for a total of 9 stitches. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull that through and chain 1, because that's going to be my finishing off, and pull that through. Now's your chance to add any more stuffing that you'd like to add. And we've created a few more stitches so you can actually get the stuffing to stay in the tail feathers now. Before we created this round, it would sort of pop out at you because we hadn't quite made what we needed to make. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. I'm going to get this threaded onto my tapestry needle. And we're going to hold the feet down out of our way and cinch up this last round. I'm going to be going in the front loops only, all the way around, and every time I go through a new stitch, I want to cinch it down just a little bit. You can see here where it starts to pull closed just a little bit. And I'm also sticking my finger in here to hold that stuffing out of the way so that we don't end up with a bunch of little stuffing fluffies trying to fly away. If I wait to cinch this down until I've like woven through every one of the front loops, it can be kind of difficult to get it to actually close, and sometimes it can break your yarn. And I just go through one more, and then I'm going to skirt along the inside edge of the plushie and bring my yarn out over here, and then I want to go through those single crochets that we've made. We're just about half around here. I'll just go to the other side of the bird. And I do that because it just sort of locks in my tail in a nice way. I have 3 kids, and at some point something will need to go through the washing machine. And when I did it the old way, my tails would pop out. And what I mean by the old way is just sort of sticking your needle in, coming out the other side, and cutting. Those have a tendency to just come right back out, as they're not really like stuffed into anything, and they slip right through the stuffing pretty easily in the wash. So there we go. Now we'll cut that tail as close as we can. Don't cut your actual project. Get that little yarn fuzzy out of there that's always in there. And that's it, you guys. That is the end of our no-sew crochet goose. And you can see I've used 2 different oranges here. I used a darker one in the past. I think either one looks nice, just depends on what you're going for. So leave me a comment down below and let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial. I love getting feedback from you guys. And don't forget to check out my channel where I have dozens of other tutorials like this, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!